Howdy, 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 and welcome to the show. My name is Diana Nguyen. I am your host for the Snort Cast. And what is the Snort Cast? The Snort Cast is about speaking to funny people and finding out how and why they put funny into their storytelling. And I am so lucky that the Snort Cast has been seen all around the world. And I want you to tell me, where are you watching this show from? Where are you watching it, snorting from? And if you can tell me if you're watching a replay or you're watching live. And I am so lucky that the show has been sponsored by my community, the Patreon community, who support my work as a comedian and also my work on LinkedIn talking about funny things. So before we begin, I would like to acknowledge the traditional custodians of this land, the land that I sit on, the Wurundjeri people and of the Kulin Nations, and pay my respects to the elders past and present. Sovereignty has never been ceded. It always was and always will be Aboriginal land. Now, if you want to follow the SnortCast, these are all the little hashtags on YouTube, Instagram, and Facebook, and check out the website as well. And with no further ado, I would like to introduce to you my guest for tonight. Now, she is a cracker. I have danced with her on the dance floor at Adelaide Fringe after parties, and she is a riot on the dance floor. Everything moves. Her whole body moves. She might be a comedian, but she's a body movement comedian too, I think, as well. So Bev Killick is my guest. She's worked with Weird Al Yankovic. She'll help me say that because I have trouble with saying surnames. Wayne Brady, Brad Garret, and is in high demand as a touring comedian. Bev has made many guest appearances on popular TV shows such as The Project and Studio 10. She's also on popular podcasts and radio. She is a surefire hit at corporate and private functions, and she's done a couple of cruises as well. And we're going to find out what it's like to be a touring comedian. We'll find out very soon because I'm going to show you a clip of Bev's work, and it is hilarious. Here we go.
But I was a single mum at one point, and you're probably thinking, no wonder. But is there any single mums here tonight? Any single mums? Can we have a round of applause, please? It's very difficult. Good on you. For the rest of you, you will be one day. But I didn't like the title because all of a sudden, you live in the outer suburbs, you've got 3 teeth and you're wearing moccasins. So I didn't like it. So I changed it to suit myself. Started calling myself a soul mother. S-O-U-L, I am a soul mother. So I started talking to my white hunky child like something off Ricky Lake. You know those big bitches that take the microphone and you don't want to mess around with? You know those ones? You don't know me. Talk to the hand. Lose that zero. Get yourself a hero. Know what I'm saying, Ricky? Know what I'm saying? Whatever. Started talking to him like this. And it actually worked. He listened, right? It was like, you ain't getting any ice cream unless you eat your peas, mofo. And you watch too much TV, you gonna get square eyes. When you walk across the road, you gotta look left. You gotta look right. You gotta look left again. And then when the road is clear of traffic, that's when you walk across the road. Don't you run, I'll lose my pencil. I'm a soul mom and I'm doing what I can. I'm a soul mom and I'm buying home brand. I shop at Barlow. I'm flying solo. Don't fuck with me, bro. I used to be trendy. I used to be a clubber, but now I don't get how much because I'm a soul mother. You should have won a rubber. Now the kid ain't got no father. Yeah. I put the hoe into home maintenance.
And please welcome Bev Killick.
Hi! Oh my God, that was so weird watching that because I don't watch myself at all.
No comedians watch themselves, I've heard.
But it just seems so much weirder now that I haven't been on stage since March, early March,
Yeah. You had a show for the comedy festival as well?
Yeah, I did a show called Don't Tell Tony. which was my husband's name's Tony. And he's you've met him, I think, Diana, at
on the dance floor.
festivals. He always hunts at about 3 o'clock in the morning for me, and he rings different comedians to try and figure out where I am. And I'm always somewhere up to no good. And so this was all the stories that he doesn't know about because he's just sick of hearing them. He's over it. So it was just all this stuff, all these secrets. And I was going to get the audience to like sign some agreement that they wouldn't tell him.
I love it.
I'll tell you guys one though. I have this thing in my act, right, where I wear big undies. And I flash them on stage. And it's all about because I wet pee myself and whatever. So anyway, I'm in Perth and I've got my undies, my dress right up here like this, out the front of the venue that I've just been in because all these women are like, show your undies again. I'm like, like this, right? Next thing you know, there's about 5 cops. And I'm thinking it's about me, but it's not because someone had smashed a glass window. So I'm thinking it's about me. So I'm just like, are you going to fucking arrest me for showing my fucking undies? Like that. I go, no, but we will. Anyway, I just started harassing them, getting behind these cops with my undies. Check them out. A friend was taking photos of the whole bit. I was pissed, right?
Yeah.
And then I got a move along order. Have you ever had a move along order?
Oh, wait, no.
No. Oh, hang out with me, Diana, you will eventually. You have to leave the area. You've got 5 minutes, right? So I'm like, okay, all right. So I start doing a slow-mo, like a mime artist. Like this, and they're just going, just please. I'm going, I'm a comedian, for fuck's sake, lighten up. Anyway, and then they gave me a yellow ticket, so I was I had indecent behaviour, and then they pretty much put me in the taxi, and I said no, I can walk. They said you're getting in the taxi, and I said I'm not paying for it, so I was really arcing up. Oh. Anyway, I got into the taxi, and the taxi driver went mad at me for being too loud, and then I got back to my hotel. And I was laughing so uproariously about this event that there was a knock on the door, and it was the receptionist saying that there'd been noise complaints that I was having a party. I'm like, I'm on my own. I'm on my fucking
own. Look, I'm not surprised, Bev. I'm not surprised.
So yeah, it was all those kind of stories. There's heaps. That's the tamest one.
That's the tamest one. And with that, I want to ask you, if you had to write a book about your life, what would the title of your book be called?
Oh, jeez.
I know.
I think it might be 32 Degrees and Sunny.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I love it.
My son, who has suffered some mental health issues before, he was in psych one time. And he called me and he said, Mum, I've staged an event, right? So I go in there and there's flowers everywhere. He's made all these sandwiches and he's got all these tablecloths and he's organised poets and musos, everyone that's in the psych ward, right? And everywhere in chalk, pen, everywhere you look is written 32 Degrees and Sunny. And that was the name of the day. 32 Degrees and Sunny. And I said, what does that mean? He said, I reckon that's the perfect day. So that's the title of my book.
Nah, I love it. I love it.
32 Degrees and Sunny.
And I don't know, it shines your soul. That's you. I don't know.
You.
Yeah.
Thank you. Perfect. I'm looking here, but I'm meant to be looking there. I'll get this. I'll get this.
Can you tell us more about you? Like, who are you? Like, I know you've done comedy for a long time, but where are you at the moment in your career?
Well, live stand-up's come to a standstill, but I'm still doing stuff. At the end of the day, I'm a creative person, and I always have been. I've always just dabbled in all forms of art and media, and so I've got my art on. I've been making installation art, and it kills my family. They hate it. I'm just always got glue and shit everywhere.
Yes.
I made this kind of weird thing just recently. It's called Zero Fucks. And I've got the words zero, letters zero fucks on a clothesline.
Yes.
And then I threw concrete at glue. So wherever it's stuck, it's stuck. But just, I've done one for COVID as well. Yeah. But I've always been like a poet and a writer. And so I've been just trying my hand at all that. Plus, I've done a few castings online lately. I've got a script to look at for a film, 3 films. So, I've got fingers in pies.
I love it. I love that sound.
But the stand-up that's where it's really hard for me right now. I'm just watching myself on stage there. I'm like, oh my God. People laughing. Like, what have you done to me, Diana?
Well, I can tell you that we've got an audience watching us right now. We've got John from Sydney.
Hi, John.
We've got Kalandero in India. We've got Malaysia watching.
Wow.
We've got Vietnam watching. We've got the UK in the room. We've got Zambia. I don't know if you've got audience in Zambia. We have the world watching you and having some fun.
We are the world. We are the children. I did one of my first ever corporate gigs in Malaysia.
Oh, there you go. Oh, yeah. That's a very good trip.
For Secretary's Week at the Concord Hotel in KL.
There you go. And we've got New York's just woken up, so we've got New York City online as well.
Love New York.
Yes, love New York too. Bev, when I think about my start in comedy, it was when I was in grade 6, and I remember standing in front of the classroom and telling like a quick joke for each person in the classroom. And that's when I love being in front of the stage. I love talking to people. And I know that when you were 10 years old, that's when it kicked in for you.
Yes. Yes. You've read my biog and things. Well, my dad was a butcher. And so when you're a butcher and you're in a boning room and, you're working around a lot of other blokes, because it was all very blokey back then, they try and one-up on each other and they play tricks on each other, but they tell jokes. And they're really long ones, and with all the actions and the whole bit. So my dad used to come home and he'd tell me these jokes and I didn't get them. I didn't understand what they were about. But I used to go to school and retell them, right? And I perfected them with all the actions. And then I got laughs. And I was just like, why did I get a laugh? I couldn't even understand why I was getting a laugh.
Yes.
So that's how it started for me. And because I was bullied as a kid, I was a really strange kid. I'm a strange person now. And my way to combat it was just to be funny or to be extraordinary. So I just sort of think in my mind, I said, right, if you're going to pick on me, you may as well pick on me for being nuts. Not because I've got freckles or a gap or being or short. You may as well pick on me for being a little bit crazy.
Yeah. I hear you. I so hear you because I was bullied and I used comedy as a shield. It was like a superpower, isn't it? It's our superpower.
Yep. That's it. Yeah. It is. And it used to stop me from getting into trouble as well at home because my father was really strict. So if I could intercept him with, doing something funny or doing a funny voice, I do lots of character voices or stupid noises, then it'd soften the blow, so to speak,
And who inspires your comedy? You talked about like the men at the butcher telling jokes to you and you would refine it for them, but who inspires your comedy currently today?
Well, there's only 2 people that I'm allowed near right now. And that's my husband and my daughter. But just general life and getting in amongst it. I do a lot of traveling. I did. So it just everyday life. And it just, with comedy for me, you're like a sponge and you just absorb the world around you. And then next thing you know, it just sort of locks in and you've got a new bit that might go along with another bit that you've got already. And you'll just keep adding to it. And people love hearing about your adventures. So I like to sort of chuck in that. But yeah, family and friends. There's nothing quite like hanging out with school mums and having a laugh over a glass of wine and getting all the goss, which is how I developed Crummy Mummy.
Ah, yes.
Yeah.
Ah.
Which is going to be made into a sitcom eventually. But I did a stage show of Crummy Mummy for a few years where I put in different parts of my world, Diana. I don't know if you've seen it, but I'm a hoarder, right? And it's yay. I'm a really bad hoarder, really fucking bad. It's a good thing you can only see there and not everywhere else. Okay. And for some reason, I was getting a lot of baby's clothes and toys, right? Because maybe one friend had a baby, and I think they just went, "That's enough now." But I still had all this stuff, right? So at the end of Crummy Mummy, I gave away babies and children's stuff. And it was awesome fun. And I was just holding up little pants going, who wants them? And, and my friend who was a producer goes, I just become a grandma. And I'm going, oh, you can have all the 000s. And it was so much fun. And then as a lucky door prize, what we do in Australia is we have a lucky door prize, right? Underneath your seat will be a ticket. So I put about 5 pairs of big undies underneath seats. So they'd be leaving the venue with like their little baby stuff and big undies. And people waiting for the next show, just like, what the fuck is going on there?
It's amazing.
So yeah. So
I
yeah,
love
it's just bringing in who you are. I think it's really important because never hold back your stuff, because just when you think it's too naughty or it's too weird or whatever, other people will relate to it. Like I don't censor myself at all these days, at all. And you'll see that on my Facebook. I put really crazy stuff up, and it keeps my mum away from looking at my Facebook every day, because she's like, oh, Beverly.
Out. What's interesting, like my mum has learned how to use Facebook in the last 12 months.
Oof.
Yeah, but it's really funny because she writes in Vietnamese and it's translated. So you can press the translation button and it makes no sense, but it's
Yeah,
cute.
right.
And
Yeah.
She's doing poetry between statues as if they're having a conversation. Like, it is like beautiful.
I love it. The boomers trying to work it out is so funny. And we talk about all the misinformation out there because of that's going on with COVID. And it's the boomers. The boomers are sharing everything, and it's American news, or it's because it's got breaking news written on it. That must be true, or it's from some really bad website. Yeah. And because it's on the internet, it must be right. So they share, and my mum is always sharing shit. And then she's going, I've been hacked. And I'm like, because you're doing 15 freaking quizzes a day. Of course you're getting hacked. Stop doing the quiz. They're bored.
Oh, they are.
But then it's those awful ones like, if you love your family as much as me, share. It's like, oh, fuck off.
Did you get the hoarding from your mum? Is that a
no? My mum's a Virgo. She's so tidy. She's like super, super clean.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Sometimes when she's over for dinner, she does the dishes. She ends up cleaning my oven. But almost to the point where she can't stand it. It's just a little bit too much. Like, I'll dress the table up in really wacky candles and shit, and she's like, "Oh, it's all too much." Yeah. No, my father's the hoarder.
Oh, there you go.
I grew up in Townsville, and we had this massive Queenslander, and underneath the house we had a rumpus room, and we had a sports section. Dad had his fishing section, the softball section, soccer, you name it. And there was just masses of records and books and trinkets, bottles. We used to bottle collect.
Wow.
My brother is exactly the same as me. There's a trail in his house. There's no sort of actual, and my place is a bit like that at the moment. But I'm getting away with it because if they ruin my joy of collecting right now, I can get very upset.
Yeah.
And then Mummy has to drink more wine, you little fuckers.
Which you are enjoying right now. We have Ahmed who hoards books. We also had Tima, she hoards birthday cards. And Karen Lee Morrison just said, taught my dad just before COVID to use Facebook. He's 91.
90, wow, that is beautiful.
It is beautiful, isn't it? Thanks, Karen.
I taught my dad how to SMS, and then he wouldn't stop. and then we were coming up with ones like old bloke who can't find his teeth, like the can't CBD, can't bend down. Yeah. No, we were just making it up.
Oh, I love it. If you're watching on LinkedIn or Facebook and you have a question for Bev, just let us know in the comments. As you can tell, she's
I will tell you anything.
Yeah, she's a storyteller. I'm opening her up tonight. She's
Sorry, am I meant to be just answering quickly?
No.
Yeah. You have to be careful with me because I've got a story to fucking everything.
Yes. We're going to drop it down a bit, which is, COVID. And you've been performing for so many years now. COVID's come like lockdown, and I've been following your Instagram, and I've been really enjoying the comedy on your Instagram posts.
Thanks, darling.
How are you going in the darkness, and why is comedy so important? Like, I just feel so much joy from you right now.
It's so important, Diana, and you have it's really strange for me, right? What I've realised from all this is that I'm actually really good in a crisis. I'm one of those kind of mates. I have phone calls all day, every day from mates. Bev, what do I do? This has happened, that's happened. And I'll just give them, some advice and whatever. But what I've realised from all this is that this is my job. It's my job. And whether I'm on stage making money out of it, it doesn't matter. This is my life choice. It's a life decision to be a funny person, and I can't help it. And I love that I can make people laugh. It brings me just as much joy. So if I have a funny idea or a fun little video to put together, I'm just like, I can't wait to share this, it's going to brighten someone's day. And it's also about leading the way, just at my age as well, and I've been at this for so long now. They're just like, hey guys, let's stop with the blame game thing. Just fucking eat some fruit and have a lie down, relax. Just get on. Just stopping. So I know it's a serious thing.
Yes.
But you don't have to walk around with it like it's a ball and chain all day. You are allowed to be happy. Allow yourself to be happy. It's okay to laugh.
Yeah.
It's important.
Yeah, it is. And yeah, I'm so lucky and honored to have you on my show because you've really just made me laugh the whole time since we've been on. So
and I'm a snorter too. So
high five. Well, talking about diversity in comedy and being a woman, how has your journey been? And I know you've paved the way. I know you support women in their comedy, advocate for women to be in comedy and to be safe in it. Why is that important to you?
It's so important because when I first started, it was like I was just right in the thick of it. Nothing much had changed for 10 years, and that was in the late 90s. So I was seen as something really odd. It's like, oh, now for something a bit different. And it's all about the way you look, and it's all about your tits, and it's all about the gorgeous, the outrageous. And it's like, no, I'm just funny. Just bring me on. And then some MCs, dickheads, would say things like, "Are you ready for a female comedian?" and you had to come on after that. And then I just started to just find my own voice, and it was just like, well, too bad if you fucking aren't. I'm here, and if you don't like what I've got to say, then go to the toilet and have a wank. but I just stuck to my guns, Diana. I was just so adamant to make it work and to be a stayer. And it didn't. I was like, those toys where you push them over and they just keep getting back up like that. I just have bad gig, awful MC, awful blokes and whatever. But I just kept going, and it was all about the audience and making the audience laugh. And I started to combat it by having really clever things to say to blokes that were a bit mouthy. But also, if you're funny enough, you've got them. Yeah. And if you're relatable enough and you're likable, they'll sit and listen. Yeah. So in the last 15 years, I haven't had many problems at all with my gender.
Yeah.
But I don't even think of my gender at all. I don't sort of wake up today and say, "Oh fuck, I'm a woman." Like I was one of those kids where if the teacher said, "I need a big strong boy," I put my hand up because I've never been able to differentiate what's the difference between a boy and a girl. And a lot of people ask me, why did you get into such a bloke? It's a bloke's game. It's like, what are you even talking about? But it really is considered to be a man's field.
Yeah.
And I think that's where, it takes women like us to just shoot that right out of the water. Yeah. It's like not even. People come up to me after shows a lot and say, "Look, I don't usually like female comedians," and then I just go and walk away. So you're about to probably say something really nice and how funny I am, but I don't care. Right. I just can't take it. I can't have it. I don't take it. I don't give a shit. Yeah. And we do a lot of Q&As. I do a lot of Q&As with my work and whatever. And if that comes up, I'm just going, next question. Right. Don't want to talk about it. Yeah. Put it away. It's ridiculous, and it doesn't even need to be around anymore. Yeah. But yeah, so that diversity was there. But when I first started as well, there was I think Adam Richard was the only gay comedian in Melbourne.
Yeah, and on radio.
And I was there at his very first gig, and he was so strung out and so nervous.
Oh, really?
And we just became friends after that. But there was no gay comedians at all, no lesbian. There were no diversity. Was just pretty much it was cis men, pretty much. Well, in their 30s.
Well, that's why Hung Lee is like a master to me, because he was and he's a violinist and he's so talented.
And you've just got to want it. And he's gone through the same thing as I have in some respect, where I was sick of fighting for it. I was sick of, trying to get the accolades and to move up the ladder. And I just went, fuck it. I'm just going to be a live comedian then, because that's where you can just make it and hone your craft. And if telly doesn't, because getting on telly back then in the early 2000s was really difficult if you weren't, you had to be this princess or whatever, or I'm a little bit too rude, a little bit too rough around the edges. So I wasn't sort of asked in. And Hung Lee, he did exactly the same thing as me. He just stuck to his craft, and then they find you and you just keep going. He did it tough in Edinburgh. He slept on floors. I used to get buses 13 hours up to Sydney just to have my name up in chalk.
Oh, wow.
At the Comedy Store to do free comedy, because I wanted to learn the craft and I wanted to be seen. And that all just paved the way to becoming I headlined at the Comedy Store, my first ever headline. And that was only 11 months in. So, nice. I was actually, the video that you guys saw, the clip, was shot at the Comedy Store. Oh. And I was actually the last ever comedian to smoke on stage. The law came in the next day and I went, so long, motherfuckers.
Bev. Our audience are watching. Jeanette saying it's important to embrace our uniqueness.
It so is. It so is.
We've also got Miriam, I think it's how to say it, laughing alone in the office. It's so funny. I love it. You're creating entertainment in the office. And who else we have here? Hung Lee in Melbourne. He was so funny from John Amble. Hang on. Are you still there, Bev? I think Bev's disconnected. Thank you so much if you're joining us. We've just got a disconnection from Bev. And we're just going to wait for her to log back on.
Oh.
Yep, we got it.
I could have got a sneaky ciggy in then.
Oh, you could have. You could have.
It is so important to embrace our uniqueness, and I think that's a lot of the trouble in the world is just about people feeling that they have to be something that they're not in order to be loved and accepted. And the world is changing rapidly around that, and I'm so lucky to be alive while this is happening. You know, I grew up in Townsville, so if you can imagine, it was really kind of bogan and backward thinking in a way. So for me, I was this outrageous creature that was just seen as, you know, a total weirdo. But there's a high population of Aboriginal in Townsville, and they were my people. You know, they were my mob, and they took me in as part of their mob. And you know, my father didn't deal with that very well. My first boyfriend is an Aboriginal boy, and the first ever that I felt to bring home to my family. That's how much I liked him.
Yeah.
And so I brought him upstairs and introduced him, and my dad was just like, "I'll have a word, thanks." and he's like, "Well, what will the neighbours think?" And I'm like, I didn't understand what he was talking about. I'm like, "What do you mean? What do you mean?" I didn't get it. Yeah. I've never been able to get that. And then, you know, in hindsight, I'm thinking, what will the neighbours think? What the Filipinos next door, the Italians? You know, it really frightens me that was around. It is changing, but unfortunately, there's just so much stigma attached to our Indigenous peoples here, especially in places like North Queensland. You know, because there is alcohol problems. A lot of the time, Indigenous are just seen to be, you know, walking around the streets drunk or whatever. But there's some mob that really enjoy just sitting in the park, and they're looked at like that's a lowly thing to do. And it's like, no, it's a really good thing to do. You should try it. Sit around in the park with your mob, with your mates, and talk. Yeah. That's all they're doing. Yeah. So it's about embracing all that different culture. Yeah. And then when I started living in Melbourne, I was just like, wow, this is awesome. You know, just acknowledgement to country for one. Just the diversity, like little Vietnam. We got little Vietnam here, you know, little Italy. It's just an amazing place to live.
Yeah, I totally hear you about that, because I see colour, but I don't see, and I also see discrimination. That's quite, you know.
Yeah. But even like disableism, it's something that we don't talk about. And that's something I've never been able to see or feel either. It's really, I've never been able to understand how anyone can feel different towards another person for an ailment or for something, like if they're haven't got a limb, or I've never been able to understand why that would make a difference.
Yeah.
I don't understand that way of thinking, and I never have. But also, like, if someone's poor or someone's homeless or someone's really rich, there's just this, I don't know, there's so much attached, isn't there, that we make up our minds that person is to be, I just said poison. That poison is to be avoided at all costs.
That's it. Can I... and we share a good friend. Kevin Croppenuri is a good friend of mine.
Oh, I love that man.
I love him too. He said, "Oh, you got Bev on the show. She's going to be fantastic."
Oh, I love that man. He's my bro.
Yes.
He calls me little sister.
Oh,
We
so
do roadshow together, and
there you go.
yeah, we often wear the same colours. It's really weird.
Really?
Yeah.
Well, this goes on to the topic about you being on the road so much. You've gone on tour. You've been the head opener for Puppetry of the Penis. You've gone on cruises.
Head opener.
I'm sorry.
Oh God. Yeah, just another one of my little things I can do.
Oh God, I'm so sorry.
Support act. Support act, I like to say. Yeah.
How is it to be a comedian, go on tour and get paid? Like, how amazing is that life?
It is unreal. To the point where sometimes you're just like, oh, that's right, I'm getting paid for this. I'm getting paid to explore my country and other countries. But Puppetry of the Penis was my first sort of foray into touring, and it was always in Australia. So I got to I've been around Australia 7 times, so I've been everywhere with those guys. And
Yes.
and if we could find a big anthill that looked like a dick, we had to stop, take photos. Anything that was dick or balls, we had to take a photo. But just some classic stuff's happened with them. And I've been on the road with many that they have different casts. So there's about 7 Willies that I know, and I rang one just yesterday actually. And you just become family on the road. You know, it's and you think these guys would be all about rock and roll, but half the time it's like, oh, I want to stop at this place because they've got really good mockies, and there's this fantastic chutney that you can get in this one town. So it'd be like going home with chutneys and lamb's wool slippers, Wasn't all cocaine and hookers.
And can I ask you, our audience tonight is predominantly LinkedIn people, and it's a professional platform. So you've really created chaos tonight on LinkedIn. Can I ask,
Am I supposed to be nice because it's LinkedIn? It's like the posh. No.
You're being a true self and being authentic. This is what LinkedIn's all about, authenticity.
Awesome.
If you had to give a tip to someone who wanted to use comedy in their work, what would be your tip for them?
Just try wordplay. Wordplay is the easiest. It's just, someone says something and you just, find a way of using that word. And just play jokes, like, the old jokes that you'd get in the magazines and stuff. Like you put the little thing on the toilet seat, and then when they open it, it goes crack. Those cups that have got they've got a little hole in them. Yeah. And then when you drink, they spill all over you. Just play jokes, like really stupid jokes, and then it'll be a thing. Just come up with all different. I used to play jokes on my dad actually. Every night he'd have this Mortein spray because Mozzies, right, in North Queensland, and every night you'd hear him bedside table, right? He'd get this Mortein spray and he'd go shh. You could hear him, right? So I got this really fine fishing line and wound it around that, right? And then wound it around to his bedside drawer, which had all these coins in it. And then I hear this in the middle of the night. He pulls it and the whole drawer just falls out everywhere. And all the money goes everywhere. And he goes, oh, shit.
Oh, man.
Just be inventive.
Yes. Ahmed has asked a question. How do you handle hecklers? I imagine you give.
I do, Ahmed. I do. I think it's really good to sort of have heckle lines written in. You would have heard about this, Diana. Now, I mentor comedy, and I often get them to write heckle lines so that when they're on stage, they've got them ready to go because it really, really helps. And then you can have your generic ones, right? But it's really important to get the heckler out of the way because it's being a stand-up comedian. So I'm looking here. Being a stand-up, you've got to you have the seat of power and only you. And when a heckler disturbs that, you can tilt the balance. So here's some generic ones that you can use. Hey mate, have you got a blueprint for your brain? And they go, nah. I go, oh, pity, because I'm building a fuckwit at home. So you just, if someone's talking really loud, just go, where'd you learn to whisper? In a helicopter?
Good. That's clean.
I just say things like, excuse me, it's all about me. I've got the big talking stick and the spotlight, and I'm standing on a stage wearing my favourite dress. Now shut the fuck up.
Yes. No, I love that. No, thank you for these tips. I'm looking forward to future TED Talks having those questions.
Yeah. Bev's tips.
That's it. And
what did you call me before? The head what?
A head opener.
Bev's head opener. Like a big can opener.
Oh dear. And Bev.
Yeah.
Can I ask, what's your new journey now? What are you working on? What's on the future horizon while we're in COVID?
Well, I've got the sitcom for Crummy Mummy all ready to go. So we're sort of working on sort of different ways that we can produce that and actually get it up and going. That's sitting with Harvest Pictures right now. I've also been invited into Barker's next new film. So I've got to sort of wrap my head around that. What else am I doing? I do a few Zoom gigs here and there, doing podcasts. I've got to try and figure out how to do my podcast again because I do it with CJ Fortuna. So you'll have to tell me how I can do this. But yeah, I'm actually really concentrating on my acting skills. So I think that's my journey after this. I think not that I'm going to rest being a stand-up comedian, but because I won't be able to travel and be on ships and all that sort of stuff, I really think the next part of my career is going to be more about the film and television work. Yeah. Because I don't know, I just think the touring thing is just going to be way too difficult. But who knows? I might just get, like, I'm supposed to be in the desert right now at a women's conference. So I might still get the odd corporate here and there.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm really thinking the acting might be where I'm going.
Yeah.
Because I've been in a few films and things lately, and I don't know.
Oh no, don't read that.
Yeah, no. I think that's just sort of where my intuition is taking me. That I just think the stand-up is just going to be a little more difficult than to get back up.
Yeah. We've got one more question from Karen. Thank you, Karen, for watching the show. She's been watching from the beginning. She's asked, how does a comedy show get done on Zoom if you can't hear the laughter?
Oh my God, such a great question. It is so strange. It is the weirdest. I've done some tally gigs before when you're just in the studio and the camera's on you and you get, it's stuff for Qantas and all that. And it is the weirdest thing, to the point where you have to ask the camera guy to at least smile. So the first Zoom gig that I did with Jamoan was like that, and we just had nothing. And it was so strange that you actually felt like a loser.
Yeah.
You just felt like, because a lot of the time, this is what happens when you're doing a routine. You'll do a routine, and if they like that bit, right, then you tag it, because you take them on a little roller coaster, right?
Yes.
And then you'll do another little bit that goes with it if they really like that. When it's flat and you can't hear anything, it's like, oh, that didn't work, so that bit's not going to work. That's immediately what your brain does, right? So you're just like, they all hate me. So the next gig that I did, which was a corporate, what I did was I got 4 people, told them they were VIPs. So there was 200 people watching. I got 4 VIPs, and I could see them up the front of the screen. And so they were my people. So I could gauge at least
that's
how
the
I
word.
was doing.
That's the word, gauge, because
Gauge.
So before, when we talked about comedy being a superpower, our power is able to gauge what the room needs in that moment.
That's right.
Like we ain't.
That's right. And if you can't gauge your audience, and it's like when you're on telly. Like I'm on the project, right? I could gauge what maybe everyone at home was thinking because of what the studio audience were doing.
Yes.
But on Zoom, I mean, you can't because you don't know those 150 people that are watching.
Yeah.
But so, you just have to trust that you're funny. And then what was going through my head was you've been doing this for 20 years. It's not like you're not funny anymore. So, so you just have to trust. But
Fantastic.
but also you've got to embrace it. A lot of my mates are just going, I'm not doing it. Can't do it without an audience. But I just think it might just be a case of have to, And it's like don't be such a boomer.
Thanks, Karen, for the question. And she said, thank you so much for the advice. It's gold, liquid gold advice. Thank you so much.
Yeah, just get a couple of people that you can see. And also what I do is I dress up the background. Like my husband's a techie. He does stage production. So he puts this gorgeous backdrop up with lights and the whole shebang. Yeah. So I feel like I'm on stage. I feel like I'm not in my bedroom like I am here. So that's important too. And I even put perfume on before I came on this.
The smell. Yeah, got it. I got the smell. Bev, thank you so much for joining the show, the Snort Cast.
Has that been an hour?
Yeah, nearly an hour. You just been.
Oh my God.
You do need to get your podcast out again, and so I can promote it for you because you're such a riot.
Oh, you are. You're gorgeous. And how's your show going? How's your
Chasing Keanu Reeves.
Yeah.
But my director of my show, Feed Me, found me a Keanu Reeves mug.
Oh, there is something about that man.
It is.
He's a living saint.
He is. Yeah. Has had a troubled life, but can feel it throughout it. Bev, thank you so much for joining the show.
Thank you so much, and thanks for everyone who listens into Diana's show. It's brilliant.
Thank you. And before we leave, just going to leave you with a clip of the SnortCast, and we'll see you all this Thursday with an interview with Dilruk. See you guys.
Bye.
Oh, hang on a minute.
Yeah, baby. Yeah.